Hello everybody, today I'm going to show you some of the things that I've been making using the products from bbcraft.com. The first thing I want to show you is some dangles that I've put together, mainly using the bead caps, the bead cap kit from bbcraft.com, along with the 3mm glass pearls and the spacer beads that they sent me. So these are the first things that I've made, and I've made a couple of cherry dangles. I saw a tutorial online with these a little while ago now, and I will put a link to that in the description box below also. And the lady was making them, I forget what she called them actually, there's a certain name, they're for decorating clothing, and she was making them, but she was using lace at the top of her cherries, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice to use the golden bead caps? So that's what I've done here. I've used the golden bead caps at the top of my cherries and just opened them up a little bit. I've also used the pearls 8mm white pearls just to add a larger one. I've used the 3mm pearls in between, and these longer beads are my own, so I've made two of those. I've also made a little hanger with the 3mm beads as well, and I was quite pleased with how they turned out. I thought they'd be great on the side of journals or perhaps even for Christmas decorations. So I made a couple more, a little bit different. These ones I've done in silver tones, and I've used the spacer beads instead of the pearls on this one. And I've also used the fluted bead caps on this one as well. And I'll just show you what I did with that, because although there's a small tutorial, it's on the red ones, not the silver ones. So they're the fluted bead caps that come in this little kit. And I didn't have any of the gold ones, that style, left. So all I did was I just spread the bead cap out like that, and it turns into a filigree piece. And then I just cut one segment out so that it came to a point when you rounded it around. And that's what I did for the tops of my cherries. And for the smaller ones, I just for the smaller ones I cut the piece out, and for the larger ones I just bent it and overlapped it a little bit. So they're the first things I've made. So I've made two of the silver as well, and like I said, great for the spines of journals or even Christmas decorations, I guess. So the second things I was making, I was playing with the bookmarks, and so I've been decorating some of those up. You may remember there was some metal bookmarks in the kit, and so these are the first ones. They came with the cabochon glass domes as well, and I've just used some Kaisercraft papers and cut some little pieces out and put it behind those. So they're fairly plain. That one is just that. There's nothing on the back or anything like that, and that's how that turned out. And I just used this Dimensional Magic to glue those on. And there's that one there. And on this one I actually used the brass cabochon settings that I previously received from bbcraft. Oh, hello. We haven't seen you for a while, have we? On a video. Come on. And I've glued that to the back of this one, and I've just put a little quote on the back there, or a little saying, be as awesome as you can. Covered that in that Dimensional Magic as well, because I wanted to keep it fairly flat on the back. So they're the first two I made, and then I made another two that are still, you know, fairly plain, but these are more for wildlife or nature themed journals. I think they'd be good for journaling, to put in your journal, to use for writing lines, or even if you are reading a book, you know, you can take it down the page to make sure you know where you're at. They are quite heavy though, so I think having a little pocket to keep them in when you're not using them would be a good idea. So they're the little nature themed ones I've made, and then I've made a couple more using the metal cabochon settings behind them once again, and these ones I have got the dome over it as well, and I've got some lovely embroidery under there, and it is fabric. I just cut it out of a doily that I had here and glued that on, and I think they're very pretty. I've also put some beads on the top there, because I kept the little loop, and I've put a little cameo on the back also. So that's what they look like, and I think they'd be great to wrap a bit of lace or seam binding or ribbon or something around and give as a gift as well. I think that'd also be great inside of needle books or a sewing themed journal, purely because of the measurements on it. I thought that would be a good idea. And then lastly, I thought, well, let's go a little bit over the top. So I have done a couple of over the top decorative bookmarks. As you can see, I've just used some lace. I've used pearl centers that I've made previously with the 8mm and glass beads from BBcraft, along with some spacer beads, some little flowers in there, this gorgeous little AB crystal from BBcraft as well, a little bit of pearl spray and some lace and doily bits, and then on the back just a bit of cheesecloth and a mother of pearl button. And I think they would be really nice to put some ribbon or lace around and give as a gift also. So they're those ones that I've made. And then lastly, let's just move things up a little bit, shall we? Lastly, I have made, and I really like these. I think these have turned out really, really nicely. Quite a long time ago, Gail sent me some hat pins, and I haven't made anything with them, but I decided to use the bead caps and make some lovely, lovely long hat pins. Aren't they gorgeous? I love them. You stick them in your hat, so you only have a certain amount showing at the top, but very decorative. Even just having a pin cushion here, they're really lovely. And of course that's using the bead caps from the bead cap kit. Use quite a few of those. So I have a smaller bead cap here than the larger. I have my own huge pearl, and then two the same at the top on that one. On this one I have the smaller, the medium size one, then the larger one, and then my own little bead cap there, and a tiny jeweled spacer at the top there. And then I also have a gold one, because there was a gold hat pin as well. I still have a few left, and I've used one of those gold bead caps, and I just spaced it out a little bit, like it's almost like a scepter, isn't it? I really like the look of it. One of the large beads, my own bead cap. Oh no, that's not my own bead cap. That is there's none left. Tiny bead cap, and it's the same as these ones on the top. It comes in the bead cap kit, but I just opened it up more to make a bead cap for the top of that pearl. So that's the gold one. And then lastly, I have this lovely one here. I had this beautiful beaded bead, and so I've used the smaller bead cap here, my own bead, a spacer, my own bead, the larger bead cap at the top there, and then just a couple of crystal bits and a spacer bead right at the top. And I love it. I think they're just wonderful the way they turned out. They're very regal looking, aren't they? So that's what I have made this week using the wonderful things from bbcraft.com. I'll have one more video next week for you, and I think I'll be concentrating on the beautiful AB crystals, the chain and the singular pieces also in those projects. So take care everybody, and thank you for watching. And there is a small tutorial on these little dangles, so if you care to watch that, you're very welcome. Thank you very much for stopping by, and bye bye. So I'm making the smaller cherry, and what I have is a 1.5 inch square of velvet, the red velvet. I'm just cutting the corners off it like that. I'm just rounding the corners, so I'm just putting the opposite corners together and rounding them off. So it's probably like a 1.5 inch circle now. Then I'm just going to, I've tied a knot in the end of my thread. I'm using a beading needle at the moment, and I'm just going to put I'm starting on the outside actually, because I want to finish on the outside as well. So I'm just going to put a running stitch all the way around that 1.5 inch circle, and that doesn't take long at all. And I want to finish my thread on the outside of the velvet. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit of fibre fill. Just play around until you get what you think would be the right amount. Gently put it in the centre and carefully pull up your threads until it's nice and tight. Just push it in. As tightly as you can, just try not to break your thread or anything, and then start putting a few stitches in to hold that in place. This is not how the original tutorial did it. I just couldn't get my fingers to work the way the lady did in that video, so I'm doing it as best that I can for my fingers to work. So I'm just going, and this is where the beading needle does come in useful, because although they're very thin, they go through a lot of thickness. Any bits that might be hanging a bit low, just pick them up with your needle. Bring it to the center. Okay, that should be fine. I'll just put a knot in it. Like that. And trim that little end off. You could tuck it in as well if you wanted to, but it won't be seen. Okay, so there's our little red velvet ball. Now, golden long bead caps from BB Craft, and these are a very soft metal, which works to your favor because you can gently pull it apart. Don't be rough with them though. They are only a very soft metal. Pull it apart until you get it to like the look you're going for. You can always squeeze it in again. But just be careful, be gentle with them. They will break if you overwork them. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring my needle out about 1 centimetre down, or, you know, 1/2 inch down. Place the bead cap like that. I'm going to start sewing. I've come out of that hole there. Can you see that hole there? Right there. I'm going to go in this hole here. So you will see a little red thread, but it really won't be that noticeable. I'm going to go in there, and then I'm going to come out over there into that one like that, and then back through that one and out through that one over there. You see, in through that side, out through that side. I'm going to do that all the way around. It doesn't take long. And then when I get here, I go back over to this one like that. And with that last one, what I did, I went from there back over to where we started. I'm going to go back into that one, take it over to this one here, like that. Oops. That, and then bring it back into that original hole. And when you're doing the larger cherry, the bead cap is a little bit small, so you're going to have to use 2. Once you finish sewing the first one on, you're going to open up the second one and place it, filling up the gaps the first one left, and then just sew it on as usual. So once you've made all your little cherries, you want to change the thread colour from red to a more neutral colour, and I'm just going to insert my needle in there. I have a knot on the end of my thread. I'm just going to get it so it sits inside there so it's not noticeable, and then get this going up through the top of the bead cap like that. Then I'm getting one of these little bead caps here from the same bead cap kit, and I'm going to put that on there as well. It just helps to finish the top of the bead cap off like that. And then I'm going to use my 3mm bead, 2 gold bugle beads, which are my own. I'm quite sure BB Craft sell some bugle beads also. I'm not exactly sure which ones though. Another 3mm bead and 2 of the bugle beads. Like that. A 6mm bead. This is also a glass 8mm, sorry. This is the glass pearl beads kit. That's also from BB Craft. That was one of the first things I received from them. So I'm putting that on there like that. And then I'm also going to put another 3mm bead on as, whoops, I don't drop. I think I dropped that one. Okay, we'll grab another one. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to cut off my thread. And there's my first one done. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the other small one. And I'm going to do the same thing for the large one as well. The only difference with this one will be I will have another 8mm bead on top just there, and I will have 2 extra bugle beads, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I have them all threaded through that larger pearl and the smaller one there. And that's what they look like. I'm going to trim that last thread off, make them all the same size. And I have another little cherry, but this one's done in a gold lame. For that I just use a ribbon. It's a hollow ribbon, and I just cut a piece off the end, so it's like that. So I cut a 1.5 inch square, made it the same way as the little cherries in circular motion. I'm going to put one of the small bead caps on there as well, and I'm just going to thread my needle. Okay, so I have threaded a wider needle with all the threads that come from the tassels, and I'm going to find the center of my little cherry as best I can, and I am actually I'm going to do the top part first, I think. So I have my beading needle here threaded and knotted, and I'm just going to do the same as I was doing before. I'm just going to hide that in there inside so it can't be seen. Bring it out through the top, put my bead cap on, just get that light there so I can see what I'm doing. And now I'm going to use these little beads here, and these are the 3mm beads. I'm going to use 13 of them. Okay, so I have 13 beads threaded on there. I'm going to loop around and come back through that top bead, and then see I'm coming through that top, the first bead there, and I'm taking it back through the bead cap, and bringing it down inside the cherry, and that will give me a little loop to hang this with. And then I'm just going to take a few stitches from side to side with the cherry to secure that thread. then see if I can bring it back up through the top there. I think if I can, might not be able to. No, that's okay. I'll just hide it within and then trim it off. That's not going anywhere. Like that. So that's our beading needle done. And now we have this one here with all our tassels on. I'm going to take that through the center there. I think just get it as close as you can to the center. I'm going to take it to the side perhaps and bring it out. Okay. Gently pull it through. Do that very carefully, unlike me. Let's just re-thread this. Okay. Now I'm just going to do the same sort of thing. Just make sure it's all nice and tight. And I'm just going to take a stitch across to the other side, like that. And the same thing again, like that. And that should secure it just nicely. You can take a couple more if you want, but I honestly don't think that's going anywhere. You could knot it if you wanted to and push the knot inside, but I'm pretty sure that's not going anywhere. Okay, just tidy things up a bit. There we go, and there is our lovely cherry dangle there. Bead cap version. You can splay the little ends a bit if you want, just very carefully at the top if you feel that it's a little bit tight. So there we go. You could also, instead of threading this on, you could use an eye pin and make a dangle attachment and put a little lobster clasp on it as well, so it could be removable. So but if I want to, I can change that because that is not connected to this, so that's an easy fix if I want to change that and make it something different. But you could tie that onto a journal or something with a pretty ribbon, or use it as a Christmas decoration. Okay,